Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. All right. So, welcome to Holy Chit Chat. I'm Deidre, and Sabrina is with me again.
Again.
Over and over. I'm so glad. So, we're going to go ahead and dive into chapter 8 of Matthew.
Yes.
And we're going to do this in 2 parts. This is some great stuff in this.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew 8 might be my favorite.
I think we say this every video.
I think we do, but that's okay. I'm all right with that.
Once again, we
They'll
love
get
Matthew.
used to it. We do love Matthew.
We do love Matthew.
All right, so let's dig in. We're going to start in chapter 8. Grab your Bible. I hope you have one with you.
Yes. Also, just to summarize, we have now finished the Sermon on the Mount.
We have.
We've done that.
We're done. And we're going to know that we finished on the Sermon on the Mount simply because of verse 1 of chapter 8.
Yep.
There we go. I did it.
Perfect.
Okay, so here we go. When he came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him. And behold, a leper came to him and knelt before him, saying, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be cleaned. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, see that you say nothing to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a proof to them. And there you have the beginning of chapter 8.
Which, this is why I love Matthew. Matthew, we go over this all the time. Matthew just gives it to you guys. It's
this is what happened.
This is what happened.
Yeah. There's no emotion.
No.
There's no...
Saw this leper.
Yeah.
Which is not the man who had a disease.
Yeah. So...
Jesus did his thing.
Yeah. And that's how Matthew talks. It's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So... That's so simple, right? But the reason I paused at that whole Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. It's because we were talking a couple weeks ago or a couple episodes ago, however you want to call that, about the praying for will he or can he? Mm-hmm. Will he or can he? So if you will, you can make me clean. I think that's interesting.
If you will.
So that whole thing about leprosy. And I'm sure we'll touch base on leprosy some more, but there was one of the chapels that we were in back in Okinawa. There was a chaplain that taught on this and was talking about what it's like to be a leper, and it was really amazing. So we had a fairly decent sized chapel, and he had us. By the way, this was pre-COVID. He had us all sit in like one person to a pew. And you'd have to sit like if you were in this first pew, you would sit over here. If you were in the second pew, you would sit over here. So you were staggering. So you were as far apart from each other as you possibly can. So he said, just go with me on this. We're going to do this. So we went ahead and did that. And he said, this is what it's like to have leprosy.
Because I think we forget or don't realize, and even through COVID, like we went through COVID where we had to be 6 feet apart. People weren't like, even through COVID, being like, okay, we have to be 6 feet apart, that we're not like, like, no, these, no one wanted to.
Some people were.
They were, but like, no, if you happened to bump into someone, they weren't freaking out. Like, they were like, you.
But leprosy was that contagious.
Contagious that they did not want you around. You could not, don't talk to them. They're like, you would think that they were the most evil.
There were a lot of laws regarding it too,
right?
In Leviticus,
which is just a health standard thing. So so when you had leprosy,
lonely.
Right? You're so lonely. It's just like it's you and other people that have the same situation as you have.
I felt that Ben-Hur did a good job.
Oh yeah,
kind of
that's another Charlton Heston movie.
Yep, but I remember watching that as a kid, and that. My first exposure to the idea of leprosy, and I just remember how uncomfortable the whole idea made me in that movie.
Yeah, it's intense. It's intense. I think that, and it's like too. It's like so one of the reasons I think why it's interesting to look at this and to put yourself in the story, so to speak, is because it gives you, I think, a slightly different perspective and or helps you to see kind of more of what's happening. And so I think about this and the fact that there was a leper came to him and knelt before him. So can you imagine what everybody and their brothers did when he did this? Right?
They were like, I'm done.
But he knelt before him. And so did Jesus back up?
No, I don't.
Okay, so
I don't think so.
Bunny Trail side note, side story for just a second. So for those who are listening, you don't know when we're actually recording this, but it's after Christmas. And so for Christmas this year, we had a situation where we avoided bed bugs and lice in our home.
Deidre.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're good. We're good. We're good, by the way. But you know, we had company that came in and they were staying at a hotel and they had bugs in their hotel. And when they were standing in the living room, I shouldn't laugh, but you can picture it as clear as yesterday, like 2 weeks or whenever it was. But they were saying that this was the situation. And Jeff actually like took a couple of stairs up and everybody like physically moved back from this. Like, and I thought, that's
what they felt.
That's what that's like, but worse, right? But worse.
But look
because
what
it's all the time.
It's all the time.
And it's so
they
fearful.
have nothing. But what is sticking out to me is like when you say put yourself in this man's shoes, is the love that he felt when Jesus stretched his hand out and touched him. Could you imagine that?
He probably hadn't been touched
in so long to just have that. I mean, and then what came from that was he was cured from his disease. But like, could you imagine not having much of any human interaction with people besides all negative? Get away from me. Go.
Right,
Oh, I can't. To then probably however long without a touch, a hug, anything. And this man, you fell to your knees. Because clearly, like, there has to be something that he realized.
He knows who Jesus is. He knows something about Jesus. He's heard the stories. He's seen whatever it is. He has that hope.
Something that he knelt down before him, and then all he did is that.
Yeah. So, and immediately his leprosy was cleansed. So back to the chapel story for a minute. So after John tells this part of the story, he then says, okay, now I want everyone to come and sit in the front, however many pews it was, as close as you can to each other, as I like to call it, cheek to cheek. So we were all squished in there. He goes, this is what it's like to be in community. You know, and it's like, because before you were you were separate, and you just, it's like, wow, you know, there's so much healing that comes from that.
You do forget when you do have that community, what it's like to not have that community.
Right. And I think many times too, it's like when you don't have community and then you come into a place where you're welcomed in and people surround you and things like that. That's not at all what I was going to say. It's terrifying. I was going to say it's so loving and warm.
It is so loving and warm, but when you have spent also so many years of not having that, or having the a particular part of your community that just needed you for something that you're kind of like, why are you saying this?
Does it makes you suspicious? Love it. So so that's a little idea about what it's like to have leprosy. So, and then Jesus said to him, this always makes me laugh. I don't know why. And Jesus said to him, see that you say nothing to anyone. It's like, really?
How do I not go and tell people that Jesus just cleansed me? Like,
but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a proof to them. So it's like he didn't want any recognition.
Nothing.
He just wanted him to just go and to go ahead and do this.
And also, I feel like at some point he says, like, because it's not his time yet.
I think that he's...
Well, I think he also wanted the... I get the feeling that he wanted the fruit to start speaking for itself before he started speaking for it.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it.
Because we're going to believe it more seeing something than just another teacher coming in and teaching, and they have knowledge, so they're like, there's going to be false prophets, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, there's going to be these things, so we need to show them that I'm just not some another guy.
Right. Plus, I think I'd have to go back and see if this is one of the messianic prophecies. So, so there's different messianic prophecies. I know that I believe that it's healing the blind, but I don't know if it has anything to do with leprosy. So that if he was going and showing this to the priests and just showing it to them, that it would be for them to be like, the only person who can do this is the Messiah. So don't say anything, but just go and show yourself and see what happens, kind of a thing. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So are we good?
We're good.
All right. We're going to move on. When he had entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, appealing to him, Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly. And he said to him, I will come and heal him. But the centurion replied, Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who followed him, truly I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith. I tell you, many will come from east and west and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And to the centurion Jesus said, go, let it be done for you as you have believed. And the servant was healed at that very moment.
His faith.
Yeah.
And this is not a Jew. This is he doesn't know.
He's a Roman.
He's a Roman, yeah. He doesn't know the scripture. He didn't grow up on, but his faith of knowing, I know you can heal. Yeah. And I know this is, and we talked about this, I feel like what shows, it's a show, remember that.
The Chosen.
But I feel like they do this scene just so well of just like, you see it on his face, like,
I think
his faith with that.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that I haven't noticed before is that the centurion, comes to him appealing and just says, Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly. And he said to him, I will come to him and heal him. He hadn't even asked.
Mm-hmm. He didn't ask. He just said he's at.
So, which I would think that in of itself, just culture-wise, the fact that he's speaking to a Roman and is offering to come and help a Roman without being asked, which is interesting in and of itself.
Just didn't do that,
right? But I just love it. It is just such trust and such, and maybe not only such trust, but also such a sense of helplessness that the centurion had.
And then it also, when he replies with him, because this man is a man of authority in Rome, right, that he says that I am not worthy to have you come under my roof.
Yeah.
I am
so
not
he
worthy.
Recognizes.
Yes.
He recognizes this.
And and in his faith that he believes that all he has to do is say a word. And he knows that his servant will be healed.
I think too, when Jesus says, he marvels and says to those who followed him, I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
How does that feel to the disciples?
Ouch.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think Jesus is saying this in front of them as like to put them down, but it's just like, I haven't, like, his faith here.
Yeah. It's just so clear. And so, yeah, it's so clear. So then he goes on to say, many will come from east and west and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into the outer darkness. Outer darkness. Burning branches.
I put in my notes here, like reclining at the table, like the faith is not inherited.
Yeah, so it's like you can
be raised on
Jews
this.
Jews at that time were especially confident in the fact that they were sons of Abraham, and that was all that they needed.
Yeah.
They didn't need the faith in Jesus, that it was just, it's my birthright. This is, the prophet said, these were the promises made. It's just like, well.
And I think too, just that whole, it makes me wonder, I'm going to have to make a note and maybe ask a couple of people that are studying some prophecy kind of things, because many will come from east and west and recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven.
Is this the first, I'm not saying the first time, but he's Gentiles and Jews. Is this his first time saying that everyone?
I don't know.
East and west.
Maybe?
I mean, I get that Jews were
I mean, they're all over the place.
And so, is he meaning it as
right, or is he saying
Jews and Gentiles, or?
I think he's saying that the Gentiles, it's maybe generally, but like to me, it sounds like he's saying the Gentiles will come into this easier than the Jews will.
Right, that's as they're being grafted in and having that understanding without maybe all the baggage. Is it baggage?
They don't have that birthright, that feeling of what am I trying to say? That
they also don't have the history because it's the same God, but it's a question of whether you. I think that's a big part of it too. Was just the Jews' expectation of what the Messiah was, whereas the Gentiles, if they were coming into this fresh, they probably had far more open hearts if they were willing to come and
back then
just find out about it.
Yeah. Random question back then.
What?
Back then, would you have rather been a Jew or a Gentile in that situation?
This specific situation of hearing Jesus say these things?
Mm-hmm.
He says right there it's going to work out a little better for the Gentiles.
Knowing Torah, having that, knowing that someone's
based
coming,
on my interpretation, or just I should say,
believing in these other gods and never hearing the word, like you weren't raised on the Old Testament. I don't know.
Well, and I think too, it has a lot to do. I think with
things here. Sorry,
but this kind of ties back into some of what we covered in chapter 7. It's a relationship with the Savior, with the Messiah, right? Mm-hmm. You can do the actions. You can think that you have the relationship because you were born into a family and because you've always gone to church and because you've always done these things. But until you actually make your faith your own, then you're not. This is not just faith. Is not it's as a choice, not as an inheritance. Yes. I mean, you can inherit faith, I think, from the sense that if you are raised in a family that's faithful or around people that are faithful, it helps you with your understanding, maybe, but it does not actually get you right. It doesn't get you to heaven. It's that personal relationship with who Jesus is. Mm-hmm. And so they can say that they belong to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they do. Mm-hmm. But without that relationship and without that acknowledgement of Jesus as the Messiah, then there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Mm-hmm. He says that a lot.
I think too with the like as a Gentile coming in and seeing Jesus, performing miracles, that's probably a little easier for them to maybe not swallow, but to like accept that that's a sign of his being God, whereas the Jews are kind of trying to... They had an expectation
of what it was supposed to be. Well, they had the
expectation, but they're also sitting there trying to do the math. But it's like, it looks like...
Almost fighting him on this, huh?
Yeah, because it's... There's their interpretation of the prophecies and everything just aren't adding up to what Jesus is.
Mm-hmm. And they could be blinded by their own pride as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're
the chosen people.
Well, and even just the the priests and things like that. It's like they have this position, they have this, and they're caught up into all of that pridefulness and unable to see it.
Jesus just
it's kind of like
undo it all.
I think it's probably kind of like how you hear about scientists these days who they're almost married to their position, and then when another scientist comes along and kind of disproves it, like they just refuse to budge because they've kind of staked their entire reputation on this idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just having the humility to say like, "Oh, wow, you're right. I'm going to have to relook at all that."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then Jesus says to the centurion, "Go, let it be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed at that very moment. I love that.
And it shows right there. Something so simple. What do you have to do? Believe in him. Have your faith in Jesus.
Ask.
Ask. Yeah, it goes right back to what
do you want Jesus to do for you? Yes. That's an example of what is it that you want Jesus to do for you. And Jesus actually asks that several times through the Gospels. What do you want? Mm-hmm. He'll say to somebody, what is it that you want? So I love that. All right, let's because he's going on and healing more.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and when Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she rose and began to serve him. That evening they brought to him many who were oppressed by demons, and he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet Isaiah. He took our illnesses and bore our disease. So again, and there's
forward to the point.
There you go. Have Matthew.
He's just like
he walks in. This is what's going on. He touches her. She's good. She starts serving him, and then he went ahead and did all these other things,
doing their thing.
And sometimes I think it's like, was it so overwhelming? It's like, how would you write about the emotion? Have you ever had?
Sure.
Have you ever
because
had?
It was like I don't know if it was, but like movies and things like that show that it's just one after another after another because they're all like they all want to be healed.
You're right. There's so much need.
Yeah. Yeah. What is Matthew supposed to say? Like,
well, not only that too, but sometimes I even wonder. It's kind of like trying to think of an example of this. Have you ever experienced something, and it was just like such an emotional moment for you, for whatever it was, and that if you tried to explain it to someone else, it would be lost on because and plus you wouldn't have words for it.
Yep.
It's just like this happened.
I can't believe that this happened, but it did, and here you're so just overwhelmed.
Yeah, just not being
I think you also have to consider the audience, because like you look at like Matthew and which one is it? I think it was, I was talking to my mom about this. I think she was saying it was Luke.
Yeah.
Where they're both very fact-based, but one, I think she was saying that like the way she was reading it, it's like Luke is kind of like an investigative journalist and Matthew is just kind of explaining what happened to the Jews. They've got two different audiences, and that's why they kind of come across differently.
And I love it. I just love being able to like look at it and be like, oh, what's that like? All right, so let's keep going because he's still busy. So now when Jesus saw a crowd around him, he gave orders to go over to the other side. And a scribe came up to him and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Another of the disciples said to him, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." And Jesus said to him, "Follow me and leave the dead to bury their own dead." What? What? So, it's like, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And he's like, "Really?
Are you sure?" I think he's showing them like this
I think
isn't
he's saying
easy.
You can't.
That person's not able to do what needs.
Well, just we can't follow him everywhere he goes.
Oh, and I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. Or also, are you like, there is that, but also is he like making sure like, because it's not easy. It's going to be hard. Jesus is constantly saying this, like the sword will be drawn. Like there's things that he's constantly saying to prepare us that when we follow him, things are going to change. You're going to lose people. It's the comfort of a fox having its hole, a bird having its nest. None of this is going to be easy. You're not going to just continue in your little comfy life that you have. This is going to be exhausting. That's going to be hard.
Yeah. And this is also, are you sure? Right. But also, so I'm thinking too, like I'm putting myself as the scribe. But it's kind of like, they're seeing all of these things. This is fairly early in his ministry, right? And so we haven't seen the hard things. We haven't seen the persecution. We haven't seen the trouble with the authorities. I mean, at least Matthew's not talking to us about any of these things. So right now, this looks really cool to people.
That or is the scribe being like, "I'm going to follow you because I'm going to see what's up."
I don't know.
like what is this?
So suspicious.
Right? Like, oh, and I can go back, is he being that way and being like, okay, well, now I'm going to run back to the other scribes and the Pharisees and.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, that's hard to know. I mean, I see where you're coming from. But I think that it's like, we're not seeing the tough part of this yet. And I think what people are seeing is that they're seeing people go places. He collects a crowd, right? So he's obviously important. He obviously has something that people find, intriguing, and they're following him and things like that. And people are like, I want to be with him.
And has this ever been done before?
Well, I would imagine that probably there's been different people that
like
have
doing healing and things like that.
Yeah, to that extent. Yeah. And so maybe it's kind of like, I want to be with him. And he's like, you don't know what this is going to be like yet.
Yeah.
I think there may have been some degree of, I don't know about necessarily healing, but like miracles. Because, I mean, again, you look at the magicians in Egypt and how they were able to replicate some of the things that Moses was doing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like
there would have been some things, but
there's evil stuff going on that's able to do things that are to us miraculous, but they're all, it's the false prophets.
But he was coming in as a teacher, right? And he's teaching in a different way that the Pharisees and scribes are. So there's that. It's like,
at this
who
point,
is
he hasn't
this guy?
told or let on who
he is,
who he is.
Right. He hasn't said who I am. And he hasn't even shared at this point. I mean, we know a little bit because of what he has said in the Sermon on the Mount about these are, things are going to happen. Right.
The baptism right now. That's the only thing that's the definitive pointing.
So
as far as like having
chronological Bible too. Because I'm curious of where these things set in.
I think it's interesting too how he's we get the 12 disciples and we know that number is significant, but then he's always inviting people to come along with them. But he never exceeds the number that lines up. I just find that so interesting.
But in this way, in the same way that the rich young ruler, which we'll probably cover later, he's kind of saying to this guy, "Are you sure? This is what this is like in real life. It's not going to be comfort."
Oh yeah, because he tells him to get. Yeah,
so and then that other one, which is like in the other one says, "Let me go first and bury my father." And he said, "Follow me and leave the dead to bury their own dead." And I'm like, dead people can't bury dead people. Dead can't bury dead. So is that?
And I have a couple of notes on that too that I've written down.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry.
Share.
The dead burying their own dead, like with his father. Like, is his father a pagan? Did he grow up worshiping pagan gods? And with that, like saying, kind of going back and being like, I'm leaving.
Probably not the case if he's a scribe.
Well, but this is a different man.
This is a different guy.
Another
of the disciples.
Which he could be a Jew, but is it the traditions? Like, I've got to get stuff right.
Right, because it's like you have to bury them within a certain amount of time and things like that.
That or not asking permission, but like it's back when God tells Abraham to leave. You're leaving all the comforts you're doing, but like, is he going to loose ends? I gotta tie up loose ends. And Jesus is like, no, you need to just let it be.
Leave the dead to bury their dead. But also, too, if we're talking about dead, that you don't know that you're dead if you're dead.
And is he dead?
And you don't have life
physically?
if you're dead.
Or is it his heart and his faith is dead?
His father? I think he's dead.
Dead? Like,
yeah, like dead.
But if he needs to go back to bury his father, why is he sitting there? Like, sorry.
So that may questions. I think that kind of comes back to Mary and Martha. It's like, what Martha was doing may have seemed the right thing, and it was the polite thing and the culturally appropriate thing. But it was not the right thing.
And he tells Martha that Mary was doing the right thing by listening and taking in. Is he kind of doing the same thing here? And not making
sure that her guests were fed and cared for.
She was feeding off.
There's more important things going on.
Well, and is that another way of him saying that right now?
Or that this was something that was of the world in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's talking about, in a sense, following him, and means following him in his kingdom, right? And so there are things of this world that you have to leave behind when you're going to follow him in his kingdom. So that's not something you need to worry about right now. You should just follow me in a sense. But it's a priority too, I think. It's like that. I mean, it's like this under a section that says the cost of following Jesus. It's like there are some things that we have to change what our priorities are if we're going to truly follow Jesus.
It's 100%. Like how would Jesus have responded had he said, instead of let me go bury my father, if he had said, I'm going to follow you, I just wish I had had time to bury my father.
That I think is like, that's normal.
Yeah.
Desire, grieving,
right.
I think that responsibility.
Yeah, but like
instead of I feel like it's worded in like, let me just button up these. Tie up these.
It would have been one thing if it was just like,
and I'll be back.
I wish I could have, but more important things were happening, because then he would have been properly aligned with what he needed to be doing. Right. Whereas burying his father over following Jesus, even though that seems like a good and important thing to do, it's not as important as following Jesus.
Which takes it back to the Jewish tradition and laws.
Very interesting. But I also wonder, and then I promise we'll stop after this, is that, so again, this goes back to when you come to know Jesus, right? And I don't know if you guys had this experience or not, but I can remember I had this experience thinking that, okay, as soon as I get myself together, then I can go ahead and follow Jesus. And Jesus saying, no, you don't need to get yourself together. You don't need to worry about these things. You need to just come to me.
I was not together.
Did you feel like you wanted to get together?
Oh, 100%.
Like, it's like I got to get together. I got to get my get it together. He's
not going to want me in this state.
Right.
But he does.
Right. And then when you come to that thing, they realize that it's like, I don't need to do anything. He's going to take me as I am.
And then things got better.
Right.
I just had a squeeze. I don't know why Alice in Wonderland popped in my head when you was like, but it goes back to what we were talking with the sheep.
It's a rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole, but like it goes in. It's going to be hard and narrow, which then made me think of Alice trying to get through the doors and stuff. But once you get to the other side,
which is interesting because in order to get through the lock, she had to become small.
To get through the lock.
Wow.
And she thought she cried at that point and she was going to drown. But then there was a way because she fell in the bottle and just went right on out.
So, on that note, thanks for coming along with us on these rabbit holes and trails as we look at the Gospel of Matthew. So we're gonna stop there, but I do hope that you will come back and join us for part 2 of Matthew 8.
Yes. Like and follow, please.
Subscribe. Comment.
I want to hear from you guys.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.